Hello everyone, this is Caleb Simpson, and you're watching my 100% walkthrough for The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword for Nintendo Wii. Upon completing the Ancient Cistern, you'll meet up with the Water Dragon Farron, who doesn't actually say anything important. Our next objective is to head back to the Isle of Songs inside Thunderhead so we can get the next song so that we can proceed to the next Silent Realm. However, before we proceed, there is actually a piece of heart we can get. Now, I did mention this earlier in the walkthrough that after completing the Imprisoned, then Gorko will talk about either Goddess Walls or Gossip Stones. And depending on where he is, you will get the option to do either one. Now, technically, you can do the Gossip Stones anytime you want, but the Goddess Walls in particular, when he talks about that, if you successfully draw the shape that he wants, then he will give you a piece of heart. So, earlier in the game, I don't know why they do this. I'm pretty sure the game actually forks and he is in one location or the other. I could be wrong about that. He just always talks about Gossip Stones first, but I'm pretty sure he can be in either location. But anyways, point being, you might have gotten this piece of heart earlier in the game, earlier than I did, so I did not actually have that option. But anyways, after completing various dungeons, now he is up on this upper ledge for me, and so I can get this piece of heart. So, this will be our 14th one total if you've been following along with me, assuming that your order was not different than mine anyways. Anyways, how this works is talk with him the first time and he'll just talk about Goddess Walls in general, and then you can go ahead and play the harp for it to make the Goddess Wall appear, but then you want to speak to him again and he will actually tell you the shape that he's looking for. So I'm going to show the shapes on screen. It's pretty obvious, and he will pick one of these except for the Triforce symbol. He doesn't ever ask for that one specifically. So make sure your controller is calibrated, charge up a Skyward Strike next to the wall, and then begin drawing the correct shape that he asked for. Now, if you mess up and draw the wrong shape or whatever, or it just doesn't quite register quite right, it can be actually kind of difficult to draw on these walls that are not like a flat surface. It feels like you're drawing on the inside of like a bowl or something like that. It's round. It's like it's very fish-eyed or something. So it feels very odd trying to draw these straight lines on it because you have to like adjust for the curve of the bowl. But anyway, so if it screws up on you and it doesn't draw the shape that you're wanting, then you might have to just wait and then come back here at a later time and try again. But once again, you just talk with him and see what shape he's looking for. Ooh, looks like I did a good job drawing that heart, apparently. So if you draw a shape well, then it gives you a whole bunch more of whatever it is. So you draw rupees, whatever. If you do a good job, then it'll give you a whole bunch of rupees. Meanwhile, if you don't do a good job, it gives you not very much. It feels a little bit arbitrary, though. I'm not really sure how it decides. I actually feel like, just from watching my recordings, that I think that part of what determines how well it works is like hitting specific points. It doesn't necessarily matter how straight it is as much as where it is on the wall. Like if you always start in like the top middle or you always hit the bottom middle or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like where your end points and start points. As long as it's kind of like, imagine there's dots on the screen and then you touch those specific dots. As long as you pass through those dots in the correct order, that is what actually determines whether or not you score well, so to speak. So I think that might actually be how it technically works. So the actual shape doesn't matter too much. You might even be able to just go all over the place as long as you hit those points in the correct order. I don't know, that's just a theory though. I don't really know for sure. Alright, so that was the only optional thing in this particular video. Now we're heading on, continuing with the main quest. So, return to Thunderhead, go back to the Isle of Songs, and then this time you will learn the next song for the next area so we can get to that Silent Realm. So once the song has been acquired, you want to go ahead and leave the Isle of Songs, and Fi told us that our next destination is Lanayru Desert. So you want to fly all the way over there, and as soon as you enter, you'll go to Desert North, which is the bird statue that is right outside of the Lanayru mining facility. And from here, you can actually even see it in the distance. There's some blessed butterflies along with these, like, sparkles there or whatever. But either way, as long as you're in Lanayru in general, you can just douse for that location, and Fi even reminds you of that as soon as you land. So just douse for the right location if you want to, but head over to those blessed butterflies and pull out your harp by pulling up on the D-pad and then strum a little bit to make it appear. And as always with playing the harp, there are 3 big tips I can give you. First of all, make sure your controller is really calibrated. Secondly, you want to play with big sweeping strokes so that the Link's hands touch the far left and far right string of the harp. If it doesn't, it will not register and it doesn't count. So that can cause you big problems. So big strums. And lastly, just play just a smidge early. So when the ring reaches the far outside and the far middle, you want to play just before it actually, you want to start strumming the opposite direction right before it hits the edge. So if you keep having trouble with this, then alternatively you can just watch my hands and like literally play the YouTube video and play your game at the same time and just copy my hand motions, and you should be able to win that way. So if all else fails, you can do that.
Marimadas. Legend Sword.
Alright, Lanayru's Silent Realm. This one's a little bit trickier than the last one. My biggest recommendation, honestly, is that I would go this way first and get this tier first. And the reason is because I think this minecart right here in the Waking Water is the hardest one of this entire Silent Realm. So because you can go there at the beginning, I'd recommend you do that, because if you fail, you don't want to lose all your progress of having gathered all of these just to fail here. So if you do it at the beginning, then it makes it like less of an ordeal. If you do fail, then you can come back here and try again. So I'd recommend you do this first and climb up here, grab this. And at this point, you can either go around and grab this, or go down here and grab this one. The one thing I would recommend you do, though, is do not grab this at that point, because this one's very easy to get. So if you do get seen by a sentry, you can run back here and then grab this and you'll be safe. And another comment too, if you do get seen by a sentry, all you have to do is run to a tier. So like if you're all like panicked about this area, is just filled with sentry watchers. So if they see you, they'll chase after you, and it can be, if you're running out of stamina or whatever, it can be really risky, and you could get caught. Now if that happens, I think it's actually very difficult to go from here to here without getting caught. So what you do is you actually run across and get caught on purpose, because then you don't have to worry about it. You just run as fast as you can, you get caught, all well, you grab the tier, and then you're safe. You can go from here north pretty easily. You can weave back and forth between the sentries, and it's not just kind of zigzag back and forth. You can get through here, not too much of a problem. and you just like roll at the last minute, like right as you're getting out of their outer radius, you just roll at the last, use up the last of your stamina, doesn't matter. Even if it puts you in the red zone, even if you're like stamina waiting for it to recharge, it's fine because then you're out of their radius. So just go ahead and roll with that last little sliver of stamina, it's fine. But anyways, if you do get caught by these guys, you have to run away, then you can make a run to this tier and this tier because this one's easy to get. So if you get caught on the way back, then you can just run up here, like wait for your stamina to build up, and then run up here and grab this before the Sky Guardians get to you, and it's fine. Okay, and that's pretty much it. These guys up here I think are very easy to get, so I would just save these for last because it's not a big deal. And also there's a bunch of light fruit around here, so you can totally just grab a light fruit and then you can figure out where all these are. It's not a big deal. And then the one other thing to note as far as a tip on this is you can totally run back and forth between these lower tiers right here. This little sand right here, it's just a little like moat of sand basically, but you can totally climb on top of this platform and then you're safe. So you can totally go anywhere. So you can run from here to here to get on top of this, or from like here to here, or if you fall down and miss a jump over here, you can totally run over and climb onto this platform. That's totally safe. All right, so that's what I'd recommend, is work your way down this way, and then either go here or here and then there, but definitely don't get this until after you run through these sentries so you have a safe place to run to. But if you do get caught in here, totally make a run for this. And then if you get caught after that, then make a run for this guy. That'd be my two biggest recommendations for this one. Welcome to the Lanayru Silent Realm. Now this one has, I think, two tricky places in particular, and the one on the far left is by far the trickiest part of this entire thing. So because it would be a shame to go through all this and then just to lose on the tricky part, I recommend you actually do the tricky part first. So if you can complete that, then the rest of it's probably pretty easy. So that being said, I recommend you go to the left first. Before we do that though, I just want to show that you can take care of these Mace Guardians pretty easily. If they start chasing after you, the best tip is to actually taunt them into attacking and then backflip away from them, and that usually works pretty well. So to work your way to the far left, there is actually just a tier right here. So I'd recommend you get this one as your first one. Optionally, you could technically just go forward and grab that one straight ahead. You have to run past the Guardian to get to that. You get that one first, then you can come back here. I think it's totally easy to go over here though. And as always, remember that you can pull up your map to see where the hidden paths are underneath the sand. And generally speaking, when you are in the sand, you want to like try and save your stamina for sand specifically, because you walk through sand very slowly. So if you're currently being chased by Guardians, then you definitely want to have stamina for the sand sections, because when you walk on regular ground, you don't move any slower, but when you walk on sand, you walk significantly slower. Meanwhile, you run at the same speed. So it's much more to your advantage if you can try to have stamina for when you're running across sand whenever you can. And as always with all these tiers, when you run into them, you will regenerate your stamina. So just try to like time it out so you run out of stamina, or even roll at the last second to just boost your speed a little bit as you're rolling through the tier. I'm getting kind of an excessive amount of Dusk Relics, and they aren't, I think that in the Silent Realms actually they're always here, and I don't know that I actually know all of their locations either. I'm just getting the ones that are convenient as I'm passing by. But anyways, you can grab them if you want to. Okay, so here we have the minecart. This is the hardest part of the Silent Realm in my opinion. Our goal is to pull the minecart and push it over closer to the tier so you can climb on top of the minecart and then jump over to the tier. Now, part of what's tricky about this actually is just that people panic. You need to just push it, like, I would recommend 3 times. 3 times is the most you can get out of it, whether you're pushing or pulling. But then the trick is you need to get away from the minecart and then press A so you can run up it. If you're too close, you just grab on again. So the problem that people run into often is they panic and they start pressing A a little bit too early. So here's what I recommend you do, is pull it 3 times and then run away. And so you do it 3 times, run away, wait for it, come back, pull it 3 times, and you're good to go. Now, if you mess up and you step on the waking water, then this part's a little bit more scary. You can push it real quick, and that's great, but if you start running out of time, the problem is that these air guardians these flying guardians will get a little too close to you. You can backflip away from them. I think they're a little bit harder to avoid rather than the ground melee / mace guardians. A little bit harder. I was checking over to the left to see if there was a Dusk Relic, but also the other thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to gather them all up. The thing with the flying guardians is they'll fly to you from wherever they are on the entire map. So they'll come from all over the place. There's one that's on top of the tower in the middle, for example, so it's coming over this way as well. So I'm just luring them all over here so that I can run over to the minecart and have more than enough time. Then all you really have to do, so I'm going to show, like, you can push it a little bit, whatever. But what happened is I actually, and you'll see the waking water is moving around too. Now step away from the minecart, dash towards it so that your stamina is used on that or whatever instead. And that's how you can jump up there. So if it comes down to it and you're like, oh no, the Guardians are coming, all you have to do is just lure them away and it's fine. So yeah, I think that's probably the hardest part of this particular Silent Realm. So if that happens, then don't worry about it too much. It's not too bad. So we're going to continue onwards. There is a Dusk Relic behind the Mace Guardian over here to the left, so you can smack that guy if you want to. And then it might be good to go ahead and use the Light Fruit. You can see where the remaining tiers are. What I'd like to do is actually go over here to the left and grab all these guys first. There's a Dusk Relic here behind this tree. I'd recommend you get it now rather than later, because if you try running back this way and get the Dusk Relic, you might like be wasting your time, or like be running out of time by the time you do that. Continuing onwards, I like to get this one near the tree first because you can always hop down to the left, so I think it's more efficient to go this way. And how you do this is just roll into the tree to make the light fruit fall down. It is kind of interesting we have this stamina fruit right here because the tier gives us stamina anyway, so it's a little bit redundant. This next area is filled with sentries, which is horrible because they'll be alerted to your presence as soon as you get close. Now, you can roll out of their range pretty quickly, however, it's very difficult in this limited amount of space. So it's very hard to avoid. So instead, what I recommend is you don't avoid it, actually get up on the sledge, and then wait for them to catch you on purpose. As soon as they catch you, then pick up the tier. Do not run for the tier, just stand close to it, get on top of the ledge, stand there, wait for them to catch you, and then pick up the tier. Now, if instead you pick up the tier early, and then all of the guardians and stuff detect you, you just want to make a run for it. So, this part is tricky in the sense of primarily that we have the flying guardians. That's the part that makes this hard. So, I'm getting the Dusk Relic nearby, you can run through all this. Otherwise, you can run through all of the sentries, and it's not too bad. But basically, the best trick here is, honestly, to just let them chase you for a while. Like, lure them to the far south, I guess it is, south of the Lanayru area. I actually probably should have spent a little more time running away. And also, quick tip for you too, you can tell how close the guardians are based on the pulsing that's on the screen. It pulses more vibrantly in bigger circles when they're closer. So it doesn't pulse very much, and it's also like not as loud. And also the rumble of your controller as well. Your controller will shake more if the guardians are closer to you. So here I am luring them to the far south once more. And so you can totally just run around, it's fine, and I just pick up Dusk Relics as you're waiting for them. So it's not really that big a deal. I mean, it's more a patience thing, really. So here I am just letting it gather up. Now, I'm doing the hardest one, actually, which is to move this minecart. However, it would have been easier for me to climb the nearby platform and grab that tier first. I just wanted to show the hardest examples of things, and you can see the pulsing on the side of the screen. I have more than enough time, but they are getting pretty close now. So yeah, that was scary and everything, but it is definitely doable. So don't panic when you get guardians chasing you. Like I say, with any of the guardians, you can run away from them and it's fine. Now, if these guys totally catch up to you, what you want to do is try and stay out of their ring. As soon as you are outside of their outer ring, they stop chasing you. So literally, like, what you want to do is roll. Just run, roll. Like, as soon as you're close enough that a roll will get you out of the radius, you want to do it. So that's how you avoid the sentry watchers in particular. But it's not too bad. And so, like, I like to leave that middle one on top of that platform, and I just got that tier. I like to leave that until like towards the end, because if I get chased by a guardian, it's a really easy one for me to use. So I try to like not use it at first if I can help it, because it just gives me a safe place to run to. Now that the Lanayru mining facility is raised, you can actually just run right across that sand. There's more than enough time for you to get across, and with your stamina you have, so you can climb on top of the Lanayru mining facility area. This is Ziggurat. So you want to go ahead and climb around. There's a couple different ones. There's 3 different platforms. I'm showing on my map where they are. There's one to the bottom left, one to the bottom right, and then one kind of to the top left of this area. And then you want to go ahead and climb to the top of the Lanayru mining facility itself, where there is one more tier as well. And you can get these in a variety of orders. This is just something that I find efficient, but you don't have to do it this way. In particular, it's because I like to do the minecart one on the far left first. The one I did in the middle with the sentries was, of course, I was showing like the bad way of doing it, basically. I'm trying to show worst case scenarios, kind of, so if something bad happens, like how you deal with those situations. This particular tier, it's very easy to over jump if you're going down. It's probably better to just like hold the analytics just a little bit forward so you're walking this way instead, and that would be better. But anyways, if you do fall down all the way, you just climb back up and it's fine. Up ahead we have this watcher that's patrolling back and forth. You can use the little ledges off to the right, and the same thing is true over here near the guardian. Like, don't panic that the guardian's there, it doesn't really matter. Just be patient. I know it's kind of freaky to get really close to an enemy like that, but it's okay. But just to show, though, if you do end up getting seen by the Watcher, which is weird, you shouldn't have to deal with that, but you can totally just let yourself get seen on purpose, because if you do, the tier is right there and you can just make a run for it and it's fine. But even if not, you can totally just backflip away from him and then make a run for it and it's fine. And you can just run through it and keep going because you have stamina again. We're already in the dark again or whatever. So here I'm grabbing the last tiers, and the last one is on this upper ledge. You kind of want to get a little bit high, honestly, to reach this, because if you jump a little low, you might land in the sand, and then you might end up like sinking in the sand. That's horrible. So here's the last tier. It's great. There is a couple more Dusk Relics. I'm not actually super sure where all of them are, but it's not a big deal. Honestly, if you get just a couple Dusk Relics as you're progressing through Silent Realms, you get more than enough for all of the upgrades in the game. I'm getting an excessive amount, so I'm going to have way more than enough by the time the game is done. So I have a lot of Dusk Relics. So that's how you get the last ones. That's all great. Again, I was trying to show, not necessarily the most efficient path, but I was trying to show like how to deal with problems. In particular, the biggest problem areas that I see for the Silent Realm, I wanted to show how to address that so that you guys have all the tools you need to successfully complete this. Upon completing the Silent Realm, we receive the next gift of the goddess, which is the Clawshots. So these allow us to reach all kinds of areas up high that were previously unreachable. So join me for the next video where I will tackle a whole bunch of interesting things that are now unlocked with these puppies. So thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you guys then. Oh, I can't drop them. I was gonna use ancient arrows to call down the switch. Not the Hylian shield. No.